It is finally time for the second annual Phoenix Festival tournament to begin, and this year things are going to work a little bit differently than they did last year. In last year's tournament, there were 3 separate categories: the singles, doubles, and teams categories. And in an effort to include as many characters as I possibly could from the RWBY series, there was 80 participants in both the singles and doubles categories, as well as 16 teams participating in the teams categories, which made for a lot of matches to cover with all 3 of these tournaments happening simultaneously, and was honestly so much effort that it became very exhausting by the end of it. So much so that I didn't have time to put out any other videos other than the tournament throughout the months of August and September, so, I kind of don't want to do the same thing this year, so things are going to be scaled back a bit. Not to mention, with so many participants, there was a lot of characters that we just really didn't know that much about, so matches were very one-sided in the amount that we could analyze. If there was one character, like Yang, for example, that has been in numerous fights throughout the RWBY series, we could analyze a lot about her abilities, her semblance, etc., but then other characters that we maybe only saw once in the Vytal Festival tournament, we didn't really have that much to analyze or didn't even know their semblance, so the fight ended up being one-sided, and not really that exciting. Not much to do on my end, not really that exciting for the voters either. So, in this year's tournament, we are going to have 32 participants in both the doubles and singles category, and the teams category is actually not going to happen this year. Instead, we are going to have the first Phoenix Festival RWBY Original Character Tournament, with the participants being characters that are all designed by you. And the participants will be decided through the RWBY Original Character Contest that is currently going on this YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, as well as there'll be up the cards, etc. So this will make for a little bit better of a tournament with 32 participants in the singles and doubles category. That'll make sure that every participant has been in at least one detailed fight throughout the RWBY series. We know their weapons, their semblances, are able to analyze quite a bit about their fighting styles, and will make for much more exciting matches. And for the doubles category, it will be the same thing, and of course, same as last year, everyone will be randomized into 2-person pairs, and they will be forced to fight against one another. Now, for both the original character tournament as well as the singles category, there'll be 32 participants in each, and they will be double elimination tournaments. So a character will have to lose twice to be completely eliminated from the tournament. But by the end of it, one winner will stand atop the podium. And there'll also be matches for second and third place, etc. But with the doubles category, it will be single elimination. Just like last year's tournament, single elimination, so if a pair loses once, they will be eliminated. And the tournaments this year are going to be staggered, because I learned very quickly last year that having all of the tournaments start the exact same week made that first week, where the most characters were participating in each category, very exhausting. So, instead, we are going to start with the singles category using the characters from the RWBY series this weekend. The first round will be posted this weekend on Sunday. And then the doubles category will start 3 weeks later after the first round of eliminations in the singles category. And the original character tournament will start on August 8th. The deadline for entry into the RWBY Original Character Contest is June 14th, with the results going to be posted on July 3rd. And in the following weekends in July, I will be posting videos going over the characters that have been selected to participate in the Phoenix Festival tournament, with the tournament itself starting on August 8th. Now, I just named off a whole bunch of different dates, so that was probably quite a bit to follow. In the description below, I'll leave an outline or a timeline of the different dates to keep an eye on when the different tournaments are going to begin and how things are going to work up to make it a little bit easier. Now, if you weren't on the channel for last year's tournament, which the channel has almost doubled in size since that tournament began, the way that the tournament actually works, the way that each of the matches are going to work, the characters will be paired up against one another. In the singles, they will be 1 versus 1 in Amity Coliseum, and the doubles 2 versus 2. For each of the matches, there will be 2 biomes randomly selected before each of the matches. So that type of dust will be available for the characters to use, and they can use the terrain to their advantage. For some characters, this will matter more than others, and it gives an extra layer to analyze. For the characters that can use magic in the RWBY series, they cannot use use magic in this tournament. We are going to assume that they will not use their magic in any way, shape, or form. This goes for Cinderfall or even Bronwyn, etc. They will not be using any of their maiden powers. And we are going to assume that the characters are fighting to a full aura break. There is no ring outs in this tournament. They will be fighting until one of them stays down or their aura is just depleted. There won't be any killing, so Tyrion Kalos doesn't get to go off the rails or anything like that. This is just going to be a straight up analysis of characters' fighting abilities and who would end up winning in the matches and situations described. And the way that a winner will be decided is by all of you. For each of the matches, I will make a video on, or each of the rounds, I should say, covering all of the matches of that week, and I will give my breakdown of a character's weapon, their fighting style, their semblance, etc., going over the different details of the characters, how I think they might match up against each other, who might have the advantage, etc., and then all of you will go to the description below each of those videos, to the Google document that will be there, and you will select who you think will win each of the matches and give your reasoning as to why. Could be something very simple as, oh, just a semblance advantage would give this character the win, or you could be as descriptive as you like, and this year, with fewer participants, if you do give more of a descriptive answer, like not an entire essay, but a good little paragraph, I'm going to try to start including a number of those in each of the videos when I post the results for who ended up winning, showing some of the arguments for one side or the other as to why people thought that the outcome would be that way. Trying to include, you know, all of you guys as much as I possibly can as well. The same will be true for the original character tournament. I will be posting numerous videos before the tournament begins, trying to describe each of the characters' semblances, their fighting styles, their abilities, in as much detail as I can, and can cover in a reasonable amount of time, and then going over the matchups in a similar fashion, where all of you guys will vote on the winners as well. Now, with all of these, this is not a popularity contest. We are trying to analyze who will actually win in a fight. So regardless of if Marrow is your favorite character, if he comes up against someone who would outspeed him or would have the advantage in that fight, and it is likely for him to lose, then, well, he'll end up losing that fight. And certain semblances that people think are more overpowered than others, I'll try to explain in certain videos why a character might be able to outmaneuver them, again using Marrow as an example. Although he does have the ability to make an opponent stay in place, well, he can't really move that much while doing so, so dealing damage would be difficult for him to do. Those types of things, etc., I will be covering in each of those videos. Now, the last point that is kind of tricky is who is going to be selected to be these 32 participants in the singles and doubles categories from the RWBY series. Because with only 32 spots available, that means there's going to have to be some characters that are left out where we do know a number of their abilities, have seen them fight in the series, and they still would give interesting matches. And after the events of Volume 8, and after seeing how the last tournament went, there are a couple characters that I'm going to eliminate that people may not be that fond of. First of which, same as last year, Salem isn't going to be participating in this tournament. We have not seen her fighting capabilities outside of using magic, so there would be no way for her to participate anyways. The next is going to be Ozpin. He is also not going to participate in this tournament because he won a majority, if not all of his fights, simply by everyone assuming that he would have the experience to win those fights. When we have seen him, and Oscar for that matter, fight in the RWBY series, we don't know exactly how much of that is from the innate skill, or if there is magic enhancing the speed of their attacks, the strength of their attacks, etc. So both Ozpin and Oscar are not going to participate. And on the same note, Penny is also not going to participate. This is a hard decision for me to make, but considering in last year's tournament, she won a lot of her matches by the sheer fact that she could fly. And a lot of people thought that characters wouldn't be able to deal with an opponent that could fly around the battlefield and just bombard the battlefield with lasers, so it seemed kind of unfair. Not to mention, which Penny would we include at this point? The human Penny, which I would love to include. She wouldn't have the flying capabilities, but she also doesn't have a weapon outside of her robotic form, so it gets a bit finicky when it comes to including Penny. And another elimination is also Hazel Reinhardt. This was a character that was highly favored to win last year's tournament, and there were a few questionable fights with him when it came to him losing to Neapolitan, which I still stand by based on what we knew back at the end of Volume 7, but now that it comes to Volume 8, he certainly has the ability to win those fights. He could easily win against Neo now that he is capable of using dust, etc., increasing his strength even more so, but the question with Hazel becomes, at what point is he actually sacrificing his life to get that level of power? Yes, he could utilize the dust, yes, he has a lot of strength on his own and his numbing agent, his semblance, but it becomes really finicky when it comes to analyzing Hazel and how far he can push himself where he's actually, dealing permanent damage to his body, which is one of the categories that we're not allowing in this tournament. So things like that become a bit iffy. So, in my opinion, Hazel should not participate. I'll leave a link in the description below to a Google spreadsheet that goes over the 32 characters that I have selected to be in the singles category and doubles category of the Phoenix Festival tournament. These characters are ones that I think would give a relatively balanced tournament overall, though there are a few characters that seem to be on a higher skill level than others. Namely, Crow Bronwyn, the winner of last year's Phoenix Festival tournament, Raven Bronwyn, Tyrion Kalos, and Maria Calavera back when she was in her prime. These characters were the strongest characters in last year's tournaments and won a lot of their matches. Now, I still want to include them in this year's tournament because they will give a lot of interesting matchups, but I'm going to let you guys decide down in the comments below. On the Google spreadsheet, they are highlighted in yellow, and they're ones that I'm wavering on. If you guys decide by majority in the comments down below that no, we should not include them, they would just kind of overpower their opponents, then we can easily not include them in the singles category, though I still would like to include them in the doubles category because that gives a lot of interesting matchups, though characters of that caliber will not be paired up with one another because that would be just a way too overpowered team. So when the randomization takes place for that, we'll get to that at that point. But for the singles category, I am completely fine with subbing out the characters highlighted in yellow because they would just be on a little bit higher of a level than the other characters in the tournament, and subbing them in with the other characters listed below them. The Happy Huntresses, Ilya Amatola, etc. There are characters that I want to include but just didn't have room to in the tournament. Regardless, if we do decide to keep in Crow, Raven, Tyrion, and Maria, there is still one extra spot that I wasn't 100% sure who should fill it. So I'm going to leave that decision up to you guys as well in the comments down below who you think should get that 30-second spot in the tournament. Again, I have those few characters listed there, Ilya Amatola, Robin Hill, May Marigold, as well as Fiona Time, and I'm curious to know what you guys think or who you would be interested in seeing participate in the tournament. Now, when it comes to the Happy Huntresses, they all use a similar weapon, except for Robin, so the analysis of them won't be that exciting, but with their semblances still, it could be very interesting. But overall, I'll let you guys decide who ends up in the tournament, whether that 30-second spot just needs to be filled by one of the other characters, or perhaps I missed another character that you guys would prefer to see in the tournament. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, whether you want Crow, Raven, Tyrion, and Maria included in the tournament, which I'm guessing most people do because they are going to be very interesting in some matchups, especially when they match up against one another. Those are going to be some fun fights, but I'll let you guys decide. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to the Phoenix Festival tournament. The beginning of it is only a few days away. If you have any other questions about how the tournament works, I will try to answer them down in the comments below, or possibly even make another video about them this weekend before the tournament itself begins. But this Sunday is the slated start for the singles category of the Phoenix Festival tournament. The doubles category a few weeks after that, and the RWBY original character tournament is slated to start on August 8th. So a lot to look forward to this summer, as well as plenty of other videos that I have plans to make throughout. Luckily, with the way that I'm scheduling things this year, I should only need one video each week to cover all of the matches that are going to happen that week, and then one video to say the results of the previous week. So 2 videos a week for the tournaments, and then, the rest of the week will be open for other RWBY content to put out on this channel. So if you want to see more RWBY content, want to keep up with the Phoenix Festival tournament, make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at PhoenixKnight7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.